Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweety are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
You were caught trying to steal the Shankara stones. There were 5 stones in the beginning. Over the centuries, they were dispersed by wars, sold off by thieves like you.
Thieves like me, huh? Ha! Still missing, too.
A century ago, when the British raided this temple and butchered my people, a loyal priest hid the last 2 stones down here in the catacombs.
So that's what you've got these slaves digging for, huh? They're innocent children.
They dig for the gems to support our cause. They also search for the last 2 stones. Soon we will have all the 5 Shankara stones. And the Thuggies will be all powerful.
What a vivid imagination.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where 2 Sweety sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweety.
And I'm Sweety.
And today, we are doing the second installment, the second movie, not technically a sequel, it's actually a prequel, think about it, of a very famous franchise. You might know it. It's a little something called Indiana Jones. And this particular movie is
And the Temple of Doom. Temple of Poom. There's not a good like word to put in place of doom, and like that is funny. That makes fun of it. I couldn't think of one, but I said Temple of Boo on Twitter, but
yeah,
it's like it's missing a letter.
I'm not totally into that title. I mean, I guess it fits with like the whole like, because this is George Lucas's like take on the like serials from the 1930s or something. Those sort of like movies that were like all like this. Good description.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been better off being like the Black Sleep of Kolo, whatever is. That would have been punchy. That would have been a cool title.
I mean, just kind of like,
yeah.
Was it? I mean, I guess that was the temple, that like main part, but
was it?
Right. That's why I'm kind of like
to me.
Huh.
All right. So this is the deal. Temple of Doom is traditionally thought of as the least popular of the Indiana Jones films, not counting the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is everybody's worst nightmare that no one likes to remember. This one in particular, I feel like we stayed away from because we'll talk about this towards the end as it's one of my questions, but we didn't have a real connection to this one as much as we did Raiders and The Last Crusade.
Right. And I think there's several reasons for that, and we can go on to that post-synopsis because I have some ideas. And I think they're really calm ideas,
so do I.
So it's not like it's going to be like, whoa, like she should write a paper on it. Like, super smart.
Why the Temple of Doom Sucks Balls by Sweety.
But I did like kind of enjoy rewatching this because it is like a really exciting movie, and there's like so many different scenes, and it's kind of like excitement after like, are they going to get out of this one? More so, I think, than the other ones. Like, this one seems the most dire. Like, wow, like I don't know how he's going to get out of this one kind of thing. But it's a lot less fun, way darker, horrible heroine, lots of stuff. So, okay, we'll get into that. But anyway, Temple of Doom, 1984, this came out. I guess this and Gremlins were the 2 big movies that year. Oh, wow. What Up, Gremlins? Woo! Awesome movie. Karate Kid also came out in 1984. I always say 1984 is a big year, though I think those might be the only couple. But it just felt
like a good year to me.
You know, I
wasn't born, so
I was one.
I was an egg.
You were
I guess
an egg and half a sperm.
Well, not yet. No, I hadn't been conceived yet.
No, but like the sperm that was gonna conceive you was like maybe in dad.
But men don't have like all their sperm
How often
right
does
away.
it get made?
I don't know. Isn't that the thing that like
You're
women
right.
are born like with all the
All
eggs that
but-
they have,
yeah,
but men
make sperm.
weird.
That's
Sperm
weird.
factory. Weird.
So maybe your other half wasn't even made yet. That's fucking weird.
God.
Well, whatever. I was alive, so fuck you. Yeah. So Temple of Doom 94, starring Avi, Harrison Ford, whoop, whoop. Kate Capshaw.
Kate Capshaw.
Adorable Data from Goonies. We should learn his name. It's rude to not know it.
I don't have my phone. I fucked up.
Yeah.
Fucked it
Who else?
And
who
some
else?
other people.
And
No one else.
a very famous Indian actor
We don't know his name
plays
either.
the villain. And Dan Aykroyd, random. Real random. I don't know what the fuck that was about. And Ghostbusters was 1984 too.
Yeah, but did Steven Spielberg have anything to do with Ghostbusters? Like, what is their connection?
He's connected to everything.
Did you
What
read
have we
anything
learned
in the
this
trivia
podcast?
about why he has a cameo in
No, I mean I didn't read all of the trivia.
Oh.
Didn't have time. I was too busy eating my pizza.
this? Eating our second dinner. More on that later. Yeah, so the Temple of Doom actually is supposed to take place within the Indiana universe before the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So about, what did it say, a year before or something?
Because this is 35. Like it says in the beginning, 1935, Shanghai. And then, yeah, Raiders is the Nazis are in power, so it has to be post 35, so 36. Yeah,
I mean, he's had a busy couple years, and I think that he should just take some time off. for a little
Indiana?
bit. Yeah, like he went through all this shit and then goes through all this shit in Raiders. It's just...
When
it's-
does
it's
the
a
man
lot.
teach? This is what I want to know. He's a professor,
Right.
and he's like
And
constantly all around the
that's
world.
what we talked about in the Raiders of the Lost Ark episode. Go back and listen to that if you have not. It's a great deal of fun. But yeah, same problem here. We're like, what is this school?
It's not like you can just like fly to Shanghai in like a day like you can now. Like I think it took some
No.
time.
And you're risking your life to fly anywhere.
In the tin can planes.
Yeah, so good luck. Oh boy. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting synopsis. I decided that I'm just going to throw my good sense and intelligence out the window and just tell this as I remember or as I would have understood it as a child, which is not very well.
But even watching it, having seen it quite a number of times, not obviously as much as the other movies.
I still don't get it.
Still, like, we were asking each other a lot of questions during this. So, not the most, and like, this is probably also like super white ignorance of like a culture we don't understand, not super familiar with Hinduism and like all that stuff. So, I think that's probably part of it too. So, that's
I don't
sad.
think so.
And,
They just didn't do a good job of the storytelling.
and it also was overly complicated, just like this movie
Right.
is overly long. It just was like too much shit. And I feel like if you have a good
Exactly.
adventure movie, you kind of have to boil it down, and, like get it a little bit
Yeah.
more like tight,
Totes.
tight like Indy's butt.
Oh shit!
But yeah, let's go. Let's get into this
Cool.
Temple of
Cool.
Doom.
Cool.
It's time for the Sweety synopsis. Yeah, Sweeties. I hate snakes. Not in this movie.
There's
Sorry.
one. Yes, there's a snake in this.
No, that line.
Indiana Jones is in Shanghai, China, the year 1935. He arrives at the Club Obi-Wan. Nice little nod, Georgie. I mean, Stevie. Stevie to Georgie. Stevie Spiels.
Feels.
He arrived to do a dealing with some really... how would you describe these?
They're gangsters.
Okay, I was gonna say that, but I was like these wily
They're
Chinese,
Chinese
gangsters who were like, those were his sons? They all look different.
Skinny, like skeleton one?
They all looked like not Chinese, so it was again questionable. So anyway, so they're like, "Give me the thing you promised me," which we don't know what the fuck that was. It's like
But you learn what it was.
It was like a vase from like the Ming Dynasty.
with the ashes of the first
Oh,
emperor.
I didn't realize
Ming
there was a
Dynasty
guy
or
in there. I
something.
thought it was just
Yeah.
a fucking vase.
No.
A vase. So Indy turns it over and he's like, "Give me the diamond." And he needs this diamond, this giant diamond to put in a museum. Like,
It's always
what?
to put into a
I
museum.
know, but it just seems not as cool.
He's
as
not
if
after
it
the
was
money.
Like,
He's a very
if he
humble
was like, "Oh, here's the Shroud of Turin or whatever," like that would be cool. Or like, here's something else not religious that's also cool that I can't think of. But, you know, I mean, a diamond, I'm just saying, it's kind of dumb. So anyways, so they make the trade, and then these wily Chinese gangsters pull a fast one, and then Indy drinks a cup full of poison, and the Chinese gangster's like, like, now you have to give me back the diamond because I have the antidote. And it's like this little blue vial of the antidote.
I mean, that could have just been Drano. I mean, how do you know that was like the real anecdote?
Looked like Kool-Aid.
Wouldn't you
to me.
make a fake anecdote just so then they'd give it to you?
Did you say anecdote or antidote?
No.
It's okay. It's close enough.
Antidote. Thinking of how it's spelled in my head.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Antidote.
So chaos ensues because Indy's like, I'm gonna throw this giant flaming shish kebab through this guy's heart.
That's the best part of the whole
It's
movie.
pretty badass.
That's awesome.
I forgot about that part.
I mean,
but
that takes...
he's like dying of poison, and he's like, oh, flaming shish kebab.
like, I don't feel like... Indy is not necessarily like a killer. I don't think he like necessarily like wants to kill people.
Good point.
And that
Good
seemed
point.
like super
very
vicious.
vicious. They had just killed his nice friend who
That's
barely
true.
got to do anything
That was
cool.
super sad. And that like sweet little speech. He's like,
We hardly
"Oh."
knew him, and they went on all these adventures together. I feel like we missed out.
Yeah, that was really sad.
But anyway, so chaos ensues after that, and then the diamond and the antidote are like all around. Meanwhile, fucking stupid Willie Scott, who's like the American singer girlfriend of this Chinese gangster, is also at the club because she sings there. It's like really dumb, stupid song. It's like anything goes. It's really dumb. Sorry, no offense if you like that song, but it's pretty dumb. It's like a real song. It's like a pretty dumb song. Cool dance number in the beginning, which is
But like, what was that weird part where she like went in the back and then there was this like whole giant stage of like 50 dancers and like I think that was weird.
Maybe it was a dream sequence. We don't know. So anyway, so she's like, they're all, I don't know, whatever. So they end up together. Indy escapes. He needs Willie with him because she puts the antidote like in her bra or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they escape out the window, fall into a car driven by Short Round, which is this 10-year-old Chinese kid Japanese kid? No, Chinese kid that the Japanese killed his parents in the bombing or whatever. So that's why he's an orphan, and Indy like
and
became
he tried
friends
to
with
pick
him.
Indy's pocket.
And then they became friends because, as you often do with someone that's trying to rob you. It's like you're like, oh, let's be friends.
And he speaks English, and I mean, he's
hilarious.
He's a buddy.
He's the best part of this movie. So then they run away or drive away, and then Dan Aykroyd's waiting for them at the airport and is like, hey. And he has a British.
I'm like, is that Dan Aykroyd?
And he has a British accent and a mustache.
A bad British
And he's like, hello, I found the plane for you. It's not
That's like
that.
Australian.
Yeah. I can't even do an Australian
Good day,
accent. So they get on the plane, and unfortunately, the plane is owned by the same Chinese gangster who's got his mitts and everything, just everything. So they're off on the plane, and then the pilot and the co-pilot like let all the gas out, and then they jump out of the plane with the parachute, and they're like, "Bye,
That's pretty clever. I expected them to be like chopped up in like the propellers or something, just for like
that's bad luck." I mean, I'm not entirely convinced that those parachutes work.
like, where are they gonna go? They're like legit in the middle of the Himalayas. Like, what?
They look so
like,
shoddy.
Oh, great,
though.
we landed on Mount Everest.
Oh,
like,
God.
woo!
So everyone else is sleeping, and then Willie wakes up and realizes there's no pilot. So she wakes up Indy, and then he tries to fly the plane, but then quickly realizes there's no gas. So the propellers die, and they're about to crash into a mountain. So to escape, they get this giant yellow inflatable raft, and he's like, everybody in, and then they fly out the door.
Undeflated, so it's not
undeflated,
yeah, it's not-
but it
it's
deflates as
deflated.
they're falling down the sky or whatever.
It inflates, which is crazy.
So I would just like to point out that in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, everybody is so upset about this one part, and I'm sure you know the part I'm talking about, where he's like he stumbles onto a nuclear testing ground.
The nuclear bomb, they hide in the fridge,
And he hides in a fridge, and he survives. I think that this scene is even like worse than that, like more impractical.
the thing is, you do have to suspend total reality for all of these movies, right? But that's
what I'm saying. Like, why did people get so upset about that fridge sequence when this entire Temple of Doom movie is like, okay, what is this?
Right. I mean, this is like, it's just super wacky because like they jump out of the plane with a deflated raft. It inflates in the air, so then I guess it kind of inflates in the air. So it like slows down their projection like a little bit. So I guess that maybe what keeps them from dying once the thing is inflated
Maybe
and they
weren't
hit the
that
mountain.
high up because that plane. It's not that plane goes super high.
So then they're sledding in the Himalayan mountains, like la la la, like wouldn't hit a tree or anything, and then finally make it to like where the snow stops. So it's like, you know, there's only snow so high up, and then it's like hotter down at the bottom. So there's like soil and stuff. They hit that part.
Great. Thank you for that geography lesson. It was quite illuminating.
This is how mountains work by Sweety Dooms. So and they think they're in the clear, and then they fucking ricochet off this fucking cliff and land in a river.
And they're all okay.
They're fine.
They're all fine. So then they're like white.
It's just Willie's like, I hate the water. That's like the only thing.
Yeah.
I hate getting wet.
So she gets like more and more upsetting as the movie goes on. And then they're like on this river, and then you see this like majestic figure in the not the distance, but like just his feet. And she's like, where are we? Because they were in China, so they didn't know where they were. And then they landed, and he's like, India, because there's this like majestic Indian man who is probably Gandhi.
A shaman.
The shaman. He's quite majestic though, and he takes them and he's like, you came, I knew you would, and he takes them to his village where he tells them that somebody, does he know who? No, came and stole this sacred stone from the village, which is now responsible for why their village, all their crops died, why it's so desolate, and then P.S. they stole all the kids.
Yeah, like, that's the fucking saddest thing. They're like, oh my god, help us, they stole the rock from the village, this is the worst. Oh yeah, they stole the kids too, but like that's second.
We need those crops, we need them now.
We have no kids in this village because they were stolen. Yeah, that's a little bit.
Yeah, so it's pretty weird. So middle of the night, Indy's like chilling. I don't know what he's doing there, but this little kid stumbles out of like the woods or whatever, the jungle, and he's in bad shape, and he's like, oh, and he's clutching this piece of like tapestry or whatever, and Indy recognizes it as part of like this Hindi like folklore where Shiva like had 5 sacred stones, and then they were important.
Yeah, and like gave them to this guy who climbed the mountain to go see Shiva, and like he gave them to protect villages.
Shiva or Shiva? It's Shiva.
It's Shiva
with a V. Yeah,
not the cat food.
No. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, so they protect the village. So that's why the villages need the stones or whatever. So Indy connects that with this place called Pankot Palace, which
I kept saying Bangkok.
I know,
Palace,
me too. And I was like,
wait.
they ain't in Bangkok. It was confusing as fuck. So it's not that. It's like Pankot or something.
Pancake.
Like, I don't know. It's not like clear. So then they hitch a ride on some elephants, and they venture out to get to this palace. They get to the palace. There's a Maharaja.
Okay, right before they get to the palace,
Oh, yeah.
remember they see those statues? Still I don't understand what that was.
Right. So then they see these statues with like organs or something hanging on them, and the Indian guys from the village are very upset, and they're like, no, and then they run away because I think that they realize that there's something quite sinister happening at this palace that they don't want to be a part of. And Indy at that moment probably realizes as well that there's some bad shit going down here. So they go to the palace anyways because they got to get that stone back. I mean, if Indy says he'll do something for you, he's going to fucking do it. Yeah. He's going to do it. So they go, they meet the Maharaja, who is a lovely boy of 7, 10, we don't know. He speaks in this like infuriating falsetto voice, which is like, hello, I'm the Maharaja. Thank you for coming to my palace. It's so upsetting. It's clearly dubbed. All the kids' voices were like horribly dubbed with like terrible little small child voices. American, very upsetting. So anyways, so he seems a little flaky.
Seems a little off.
They eat this like crazy dinner with all these like snakes and monkeys' brains and all this stuff. We'll talk about it. There's a British guy there. There's that other guy with the glasses.
Yeah. So basically, like,
what was his deal?
Well, so they're like trying to. Basically, those guys are just like lying to Indy, being like, "Oh, we got missing stones? What? Like kids missing from the village? That's weird." Like, oh, and then the little Maharaja's like, oh, like I would never let like anything happen to my villages that are like under my control. So they're just like lying to them. And like Indy knows like something is up, but doesn't really know like what yet. So they all go to bed, and then there's this like kind of flirty scene where like Indiana decides like he wants to hook up with fucking Willie. I don't know why. She's like not his type at all.
He's got to get his kicks.
And so then she's like, they're just annoying. So then they go to their separate rooms, and they're like kind of waiting each other out. And then someone tries to kill Indy. So like garroted him, which is like, you know, you put like a wire against someone's throat, and is able to fight him off. And then he's like goes looking for someone else in Willie's room and finds a secret entrance, like a secret passage. And then there's a picture on the secret passage's wall that matches the little tapestry thing that he got from the kid that wandered into the village.
The pieces are coming together.
Like, he's on the right track, right? So they go. So him and Shorty like go into what starts is the beginning of the Temple of Doom. There's some hijinks. They get stuck in this kind of cool scene, a booby trap, and then stumble upon what is the actual, I guess, Temple of Doom, where they're doing these crazy like rituals, very very old rituals from, I don't know, like Hinduism, but like the evil side or something.
They're like, it's like I don't know, it's some kind of like black magic cult thing, whatever, which involves so they like get a guy, put him in a cage, and then this guy with a giant headpiece with like a tiny little shrunk head. Is that a real head? Whose head is that?
Oxen, like horns.
Giant horns and like a scary skull. And he's like, his name is Mola Ram. Know it, learn it. He'll be back. He comes to this guy and he says like magic words or whatever, and then puts his hand on this guy's chest, and the guy's heart is beating super fast, and then this guy just like rips the heart out, like puts his hand in there and just like pulls it out, and then the chest cavity closes and the guy's still alive. So you're like, okay, this is some magic bullshit. Like, what is this? And I feel like Indy's still like sort of skeptical at this point because they're watching all this happen. Right? And he's like, he still has like a weird thing. Yeah. Even though he's seen all this shit, like, he still has a weird thing about magic, even though this is clearly magic.
Right. And it's like, well, that's interesting because literally now I'm thinking the theme of every Indiana movie is him being skeptical going in and then being like a true believer when he gets out, right? So the arc, he was like kind of pretty skeptical, but then there was the big scene.
This all happened before like that, so he should have not been skeptical during.
But this was just like, but this is like a religion, like a different religion, so not maybe like westernized religion. I don't know. So, but then the Cup of Christ one, same thing, because what convinces him in that one, because it saves his dad, right? Right. So. Okay. Spoiler if you haven't seen Last Crusade. Sorry.
So then they drop this guy in the cage down to this like lava pit thing, and then he burns alive and the heart catches fire. It's real crazy.
But like, what is this supposed to do? What are those rituals doing?
It's a human sacrifice to like appease the black gods or something. So Indy spots. So I guess so. The ritual is over. Everyone's like, "All right, going home.
Good night.
See you, Ted."
That fucking clears out. There's like thousands of people there. They had like 20,000 drummers.
Where did they go? Is there like a bedroom?
Shifts up. Time to go.
So weird. So then Indy like investigates. He sees the 3 stones. He notices the one from the village, and he's like, "This is the one." So they grab the stones, and then the bad guys come back because I guess they weren't far away.
He should have just like got out of there and it would have been fine. But he hears like these like weird like painful noises. Those aren't sex noises.
Sounded like
they're people being whipped.
Oh, right.
And he puts it together. Oh, and he finds the fucking kids.
He finds the kids. So all of the kids.
He's like, I gotta save the kids.
Well, what are the kids doing?
The kids, they have the kids, what look like are basically like child labor mining for something that you don't know. And they're like kind of like hypnotized, and they're just getting like whipped the shit out of them. I mean, for like no reason. The main like henchman people are just like whipping kids right and left, even though they're doing their job. And I'm like, don't whip people who are doing their job.
They're doing their best, and they have these like pretty shitty little hammers, and they're like breaking these rocks, and they're handcuffed.
It's like a lot of evil going on there.
Yeah. So Indy needs to save them. How does he save them?
Remember, he sees that one little kid getting whipped, and he takes his whip for whip, and gets the guy's arm. And then he kind of smiles and is like, "Yeah, I did it." And then there's 5 henchmen on him.
And then they chase him.
And he turns around, and there's all the people.
And then they catch him and Short Round and Willie.
They had caught them before.
They caught them before. Yeah. Okay, so now they've got them all. So they throw Indiana and Short Round in like a cage, and the little kids there tell them like, oh, they're gonna make us drink the blood, and then we'll have like the living in a nightmare, which is like the black sleep of Kull or whatever. I forget what it's called, but it's basically what keeps them all like in that weird like zombie state, so that they're all like under their control and doing and mining and shit. So like, oh shit, okay, I'm not gonna drink that. Thanks for the tip.
So is that why they take people's hearts out, to like get that blood or something? Maybe that's it.
Maybe you solved it. But then the heart catches on fire.
You're right. So that doesn't do it.
I don't know.
I'm like, where are they getting this blood?
Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing. So then they take Indiana Jones out and Short Round, and they try to pour the blood down Indiana's throat, but he like spits it out, and they're like, no, like you gotta drink this. And so they finally like force it down his throat, and they like put him in a room, in a chamber, whatever. They make Short Round as part of like the child slaves. We don't know where Willie is. So cut to Indy like freaking out, because I guess when you drink that blood, like you see some shit. See some shit. And he's like,
he's just getting like possessed and shit like that.
And then he looks in the distance and smiles. And you're like, what's going on? Because I guess that was the moment he got possessed.
Oh, God,
or it's still a blur to me.
So then cut to like sacrificial ceremony time. Indy is there, shirtless. Woo. Totally possessed. Short Round is there. Just like watch. Oh no, is he watch? Oh no, he's in the mine. Still. He's in the mine. Yeah. And then they bring out Willie, put her in a nice dress, which is like pretty cool, and she's gonna be the next like sacrificial victim. But I guess really just to like prove that like Indiana was possessed, that he would like let that happen or something. I don't even know. Just
they needed another one, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So like Shortcake saves the day. Shortcake. That's my best friend's cat's name. She's since died.
Sweety's had trouble remembering Short Round's name. Let's go through all the things you thought it was. What?
Shortcake?
You thought it. Shortcut. Short
stack.
She just couldn't get it. It was pretty great. Anyways, okay.
So yeah. So short stand.
God, Short Round.
Short Round. That is like nothing. Nothing is a Short Round. I don't get it. I'm sure.
He's Short Round.
Let's just call him Shorty.
Okay.
So Shorty's in the mine, and he had like really smart. Instead of like mining the rock, he starts mining his little chains and breaks out, and is able to get out of there, and then like interrupts the whole like Willie like sacrifice section, and tries to like wake up Indiana. So he gets this torch and burns him. And is like, wake up. And there's this like heartbreaking scene where he's like, you're my best friend. Like, I know this isn't in you. And it's either like the fire that snaps him out of it, or Shortcake, like the love of Shortcake.
It's terrible. We don't know. It could be a combination. I'm thinking it's more the fire though, but it's still unclear to me.
Yeah. So he wakes up, is able to save Willie.
Yep.
Sadly.
All good. They like try to make an escape. Mola Ram like leaves out a side door. He's like, see ya. He's gone. Then they have to like fight all these dudes. They get in a mine cart and they're like, all right, we're free. And then there's more things they have. There's the thug guys are like behind them. The bad guy Mola Ram like is like, knock over this giant water tower to flood the cave. So they do that, and then they have to like run out of the cave like the water's coming. It's very dramatic. So then they make it out, and then they get to this rickety as fuck bridge, which they go across. And then who should come? Mola fucking Ram. His guys just won't quit. He won't quit.
How did he get to the other side of the bridge? He's everywhere.
The layout of the Temple of Doom is like one of the world's greatest mysteries. I'd put it on level with like the full layout of the Full House where you're like, what's happening here? So there's a confrontation on the bridge, and then Indy's like, oh, I got an idea. Like, I'll just like slice the bridge so everybody dies. There's crocodiles below. They get anyone that falls in there gets eaten. They got to climb up the thing. Mola Ram tries like one like last attempt to try to get Indy's heart. Doesn't work.
I got time for that.
The stones ignite and flame because Indy's like, you stole from Shiva. You are disgraced.
Well, he starts chanting something too.
I thought it was that. Like
No,
you
he
stole
starts
from
chanting-
Shiva.
I thought he starts chanting
I
some.
think he was just like, it was like the shame of
stuff.
like stealing from the gods or something. I don't know. So anyway, so Mola Ram's done finally, thank God. And then, but all his like henchmen are still there, like shooting arrows and shit. And you're like, fuck, like just give up, like let it go. And then the British come and save them. Which why was that guy not? Wasn't that guy not a good guy in the like the British guy at the palace?
No, I mean he wasn't involved with any of that other shit though. It's like they were all under the control of that guy. I think that guy like made them drink the blood. I don't think like anyone. Yeah, I don't because that guy. I forget what happens with that guy with the glasses, who's sort of like the British talking Indian dude.
Yeah, he got killed.
Oh, he did.
He was in the temple,
Oh, he went in the fire pit.
like doing shit. I don't know, but maybe makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the British come, everything's fine, great. Indy and Willie probably finally get to have sex. And they return the stone to the village. They had freed all the kids at some point. We missed that. We kind of
remember they ran out of there and they're like,
I know, but
they're
we
like, "Oh, my
but
eyes,
we
it's so
missed.
light out
I know, but we
here."
didn't talk about it. But we missed like how they freed the kids.
Well, remember you said it was like once the stones were taken out of and like not glowy anymore. That like
I know I said that, but
made
I don't
everybody-
think it's right. Because Shorty was still being forced to mine at that point. So we missed
When
that.
all
we
this-
missed
no,
it.
no,
We were
no.
like eating our pizza and we missed it. But the kids got freed for somehow. So they're all home. Everything's happy. The village is back to its glorious self. It's green. Actually, it's not as depressing as we thought it was. And all is good. All is good in the hood.
Yeah, but before the stones came back. So it's like just those stones being together, I think, and like was making stuff bad.
No, remember the guy, the shaman guy's like, I knew you had done it because our village started turning back to normal before you got back.
But what
because
did he do?
Because
Just take the
got
stones?
because the stone transferred back into like a good power. Like I think it's when it's in this like negative space.
Shoddy rules for these stones. I don't know.
Well, hence the reason this movie just doesn't cut it for me. Doesn't cut it. So that's the movie. It's 2 hours long. It's really fun. It feels long. It is long and it feels long because there's so much action and there's so many. There's just bad situations.
And it takes forever.
Yeah, it takes forever.
And it wears on your soul because you're like, where are the ones where he like gets out of this and it's like fun? Because there's just too many like downbeats to it.
You're right.
There's not enough upbeats.
They did not follow the same formula, I think, in Raiders, and then they obviously went back to it in The Last Crusade when they were like, this was the winning formula, not this like these like dire situations after dire situations thing. But it's super long and it's just confusing. It's not super clear. I think the folklore isn't as strong as the other ones. It's also racist, but there's several problems. Problems.
It's just, I mean, it's fun. Like when I watched this, I was like, man, if I was in the theater watching this, I think I would have walked out and been like, that was a good time. Like there was like nail biting scenes when they're like, oh shit, is it gonna make it? And it's just like, it was so much of that I think it would be exciting and you'd feel like, okay, that was totally worth my, however much movies were in 1984. But
Overall.
And it's interesting because we're looking at this from a hindsight perspective when we've now all of them have been released for us and we only ever saw them when they were all released. So it wasn't like we were ever seeing them as they were coming out and you like kind of have that comparison kind of thing. Yeah. So when you can look at them from like above like that, like obviously it's easy to be like, oh, like this one isn't as good. But I feel like there's dogs in every trilogy series of movies, right? Like they're not all going to be good. Do you feel like any series have ones that are like just rock stars every single one of the movies in the series?
I like all the Star Wars ones, but not. I know a lot of people don't love Return of the Jedi, but I mean, I love them all.
Right. But I guess if you include the prequels,
no one includes those.
That would be the dogs.
That's not an inclusion.
For us, like Back to the Future, like 3 was kind of the dog for us, even though a lot of people really like that
Even
one.
though we've never actually seen it.
Yeah. I think I've seen it like once.
We'll see it.
I was trying to think of any like other ones.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Do you have like what's your dog in that one?
The second one's kind of like a bummer, but it's still good. Yeah. They're all like really good. I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky.
Tremors 5.
Tremors.
The dog.
5. The dog.
I'm just using that term, but
I know. I was like, what is this? Dogs are good.
I know, dogs are
I like dogs. Okay, so what should we venture off into first?
Well, I think like let's just jump right in and talk about why this the elements of this that make it really fail for us and probably for a lot of you. So obviously we talked about already how it was kind of dark, too many downbeats, and a sort of plot that was too hard to focus on, and a story that wasn't as familiar to Western audiences, let's say. So that would be like initially. Okay.
Yes.
Number two.
Yes.
Do you want me to do it or you?
Well, I have one. I don't know if it's the same number two that you wrote down, but Willie Scott is the worst. She essentially sets the women's movement back like 100 years in this. She's just the worst. Like she screams at everything. Everything is a problem. She breaks her nail and it's upsetting. She like is told to do things and then completely fucks everything up because she's a woman and is like it's pretty much the exact like anti like woman that Indy likes, which is upsetting. And it's upsetting not to have a smart, cool woman in an action film which is already a man's world. And then we get the one character that's a woman in this is terrible and is just the reason why we don't get action movies.
And like you could have totally made her be this like cool worldly person. She obviously was like a singer in Shanghai, so she had traveled a lot. She was like the boyfriend or girlfriend of this like Chinese gangster. I mean, obviously she had like been around the block. She certainly doesn't act like it, but it could have been a thing where like he thinks she's like really pretty and can't do stuff, but really like she wows him with like, oh, like this is how smart I am, and like this is like I can climb on an elephant, I can do this and that. And I feel like that kind of becomes a little bit the German Elsa character in the third one. And like Marion in the first one has her own problems because we talked about that in the initial one, how she is like really smart and like fucking holds her own, but is a little whiny too. And you're like, that's totally unnecessary. But this is all
over the
wine.
top.
And it's like, and it's just like Sweety said, like such stereotypical blonde, stupid stuff that she should know. Obviously they just make her like completely dumb and she's just like so out of touch and is just such a drain on this whole movie. And I think really the main reason people don't like this one, which I hate to say that, and I feel bad. And I think that Kate Capshaw, the actress who is now married to Steven Spielberg, they met on this movie. Cool. So at least she got something out of it. But other than that, like I would feel so bad for her because people I think like can't not stand her because of this movie. And I don't know any other movies she's in. I don't think I've seen anything else she's been in. So I feel really bad. Like I feel for you, Kate Capshaw. Like, and she knows. Like in the trivia, there was like, oh yeah, like she's like, oh man, like she was just this screaming, annoying blonde. Like imagine that was your character.
Like, why? But why? Like why does it have to be that way? Really
and like it's like don't even scream that much. And I guess like she had to be taught how to scream in this because like Kate Capshaw didn't know how to scream. And she saves the day like once
by accident. There's one
like,
scene at the end when they're in the mine carts that she punches a guy and he goes flying. That's kind of nice, but ultimately she sucks. She sucks real bad. And it's not like she learns it. It's not like by the end of the film she has changed her tune and is like, this is actually not that bad. Like I had a good time. She's still complaining about everything that happened and is still the worst.
Yeah, and it's not. There's no even like
no redeeming
hint
quality
of like redemption or you feel bad for her or anything. Because there's this one part where she's like freaking out and like, oh, I don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. And it's like right after they were in like the booby trap part where like Indy and Shorty almost get killed. And she's kind of like pouting like right when they're like approaching or they're in the Temple of Doom sort of like looking at the first ceremony. And she's like pouting in a corner. And then she hears like Indy explain like what the stone, why the stones light up because there's diamonds in them and they light up when all the diamonds are together. And she's like, diamonds? Yeah. And then decides to like be involved. Like what? Fuck you. Like,
she's definitely a gold digger. When they get to the palace, she's like, oh, the Maharaja must be a wealthy man. Like, does he need a wife? And like, obviously that's her goal in life is to find this like wealthy person and marry them.
Right. And I guess like, I see what they were doing, try to maybe make her be the comic relief as well, right? This like spoiled brat who's like really out of her league and stuff like that. But it's not needed. Like it's just, that is like a lazy really thing to like, to put your hat on and be like, oh, here's the comic relief, like dumb girl. Like that, come on, Steven. Like Steven, you don't need to do that. Like Indy and Shorty provided enough of that. Like really, like did she even have to be in this movie at all?
Not really. But no, I don't think so.
It should have been Indy and Shorty, and that's it.
Totally. Okay. So number 3 point.
Boop, 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 boop. Too long.
Too long. I'd say that it's pretty racist, and a lot of people have made that point in film critique of this movie that it is slightly racist, or more
in
than
the sense
racist.
that it's extremely inaccurate.
Yeah, totally inaccurate. The scene where they go to the palace and they're all excited because they get to eat finally, but unfortunately it's not a cheeseburger here.
It's not,
the first course.
What is it? Tandoori chicken.
It's not tandoori chicken.
Tikka masala.
First course is a giant boa constrictor. And the guy next to Willie's like, ooh, snake surprise. And she's like, what's the surprise? What's the surprise? And then they cut the snake open and there's all these live eels squirming about that they all like pick up and put in their mouths raw, like squirming. Like, no, that's not a thing anyone eats. And then there's these beetles that they open and like eat their insides out. Willie is like, can I get some soup or something? And so they bring her the soup and she's like, and then she puts her spoon in and there's fucking eyeballs in it, like nasty eyeballs too. Like those were not
She's
cooked.
like every American on vacation. Though.
Yeah. And then
can I get some soup
and
or
then
something?
for dessert, chilled monkey brains. Like I don't know. Maybe they eat that, but I don't think so. But like you said, most Hindus are vegetarian and they would not be eating that kind of stuff. So it's a little offensive, or a lot offensive. There's also a scene where the Short Round and Indy are walking in the Temple of Doom before the first booby trap, and they're like crunching on stuff. And Short Round says, "Sounds like fortune cookies." And then Indy's like, that's not fortune cookies. And which is total bullshit, because Short Round lives in China where fortune cookies don't exist. Fortune cookies are an American invention. Right. And yes, they were invented at this time, but we don't think that Short Round would have known about it, even though he's wearing a New York Yankees hat or whatever. Right. But I mean, maybe he could have, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
Just a lot of cheap joke shots like that. And obviously I think the Shiva is a real part of Hindu and stuff like that. I don't think there is this like sort of like demons kind of side of things.
I don't know. I didn't research too much into it.
So I mean, whatever. I mean, okay, you can't say whatever because that's like super rude to do that to the whole culture and whatever. So you should do your homework when you're making these movies and stuff like that. I don't know if that was taken as seriously as it is now, and especially for this genre.
The 80s was all like vaguely racist,
right?
So
exactly. So it's a good thing to look back on and be like,
let's not do this again. Yeah, totally.
Not good.
So I mean, and then of course, the other reasons we've brought up, like the story's not as cool. It's confusing. It doesn't help that like half of it's told in a different language that Indy's like translating, so things are confusing. There's just like that weird statue in front of the palace with maybe the body parts on it. It never gets explained. So we're just kind of like feeling through the dark in the Temple of Doom, and we're like, oh, I might hit a booby trap. I don't know. I can't see anything.
It's not as clear or tight of a movie as the other ones. And, I think as we said when we did the initial, Raiders of the Lost Ark, can't go wrong with a Nazi enemy.
Always have
Nobody
the
likes
Nazis. Always have the Nazis.
Nobody likes the Nazis unless you're a white supremacist. So, like, always stay for that. And that's the bad guy. And, like, dealing, with either the Crusades, which is the third one, and the Holy Grail, or the Ark in the first one, like some a little bit more close to home stuff. So interesting what they did here, like for sure. And I think it was like an interesting route to take. But when you have bookends of ones that are like so similar like that, this one obviously stands out just because it's different. I think too. The
cheese stands alone.
The cheese stands alone.
So I think another reason why I never liked this too much as a kid was that several of the parts I thought were the most scary in all of the Indiana Jones movies. When I was little, this would be on TV or whatever. And I don't know if they would play this part, the full of this part, but when the guy rips Mola Ram, like rips that guy's heart out, it's really gross.
That's the only scene that I remember as a little kid. Right. That is the only one I can
it like
remember.
Scars you for life.
Oh yeah.
Second
it's
only
so intense.
Second only to the scene in Dumb and Dumber where the same thing happens and Jim Carrey like rips some guy's heart out and then puts it in a doggy bag and like gives it to him, which is also traumatic. It's just a scary thing to be like now I have your beating heart in my hand, and it's just very upsetting.
And just that scene was crazy because it's like all these like crazy
Yeah.
drummers, and
they're like chanting.
You can like feel the heat in that
Yeah.
room. There's like the big fire pit, the like cage, and you're like seeing the guy get burned alive. I mean,
Yeah.
just like all that stuff is going through your head as a kid, and you're like, oh my god, like sensory overload, like way too much shit.
Yeah, too scary.
But so that was like number one scene that I always
yeah.
remembered, only having like seen this a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
My other ones were the monkey brains part. So that part is like as
Yeah.
racist and gross that scene is, like pretty funny and cool. The ceiling fan. So like this guy comes in to kill Indy, like we said, in his room, and he's able to, he like puts his whip on his neck, and does he like lose the handle? He
It like
throws
flies
by
up
accident?
and then
Yeah.
gets stuck on the
In
fan.
the ceiling fan.
The ceiling
so
fan.
the guy like gets hung essentially on the
It's really
ceiling.
creepy. I totally forgot about
Yeah,
that part.
that is like really
Yeah,
disturbing.
that seems scary.
Willie and the bugs. So
Willie
there's
and the
like,
bugs.
so there's this pretty cool scene where there's like Shorty and Indy. It's like right before they get to the actual Temple of Doom, and they're in this like big room, and they're trying to figure out how to like get out of it because I think they get stuck in it first. And then Shorty by accident like leans against the wall, and a booby trap gets set off, and it's this big. The ceiling is closing in coming down. And there's these big spikes. So they're gonna get impaled if they don't stop this thing. So they're like, Willie, like, come save us, come save us. So she's like coming in with this like lamp, and
moseying
there's
on down,
bugs
taking her
everywhere, and
time.
she's like freaking the fuck out, and they're like, we're gonna die in here, and like, so she's like, all these bugs are like, and it's just, and that's the other thing, like, all the like distressing scenes, I feel like take way longer than they should. Not even from the sense like, okay, they would have been dead by now. Like that time is just slowed down in like the danger world, and is like so slow in the world of the person trying to save them. So the part where Willie is trying to save them and find this like fulcrum that's going to stop the ceiling from coming down takes forever. Like, oh my God, you should have cut that in half, because she's like freaking out for at least 5 minutes about the fucking bugs. She finds the hole finally and puts her hand in, and then it's like another 2 minutes before she even finds the fucking thing. Like, speed it up.
Speed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
But that was really
there's
gross.
all these
So
bugs,
there's all
and
these
they're all
bugs.
crawling all over her.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
ickies.
bug-heavy movie for sure.
Totally,
There's lots
yeah.
of bugs. in
Lots
this.
of bugs. No spiders though, which I'm into.
Yeah, no spiders. The heart ripping out, which we already talked about, and then the mine carts, which I do think is like really fun. So they escape.
That's scary. That was a scary part.
Just one I remembered.
Oh, okay.
So they escape the Temple of Doom by this like mine cart, because it's basically a mine. You know, they were trying to find the two missing stones. That's why the little kids were mining for all in the like underground mine. And so they escape on this mine cart, and it's really cool and exciting. And then like the brake fails or something like that, and they're like careening down this super rickety, like, whoa, like, I don't know. That seems like they almost flew off of the rails. This movie came off the rails. It's like just like the minecart.
Yeah, they do at one point, and then it like flies off, but then they land.
Yeah.
It's like, just like in Donkey Kong.
Yeah, remind me of Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong Country with the minecart
Good game.
level.
But yeah, so that was like a really cool scene too. And then I guess the bridge too. I forgot about the bridge, because the alligators are so funny. Or would they be crocodiles? Let's see, crocodiles.
I think they're crocodiles.
Yes, alligators are just the ones in Florida. I
Yeah,
believe.
I mean, they obviously used all the budge up on the like explosions in the beginning, and like they're like, "Dang, this movie's too long. Like now we ran out of budget for the crocodiles eating people scene. So I'll just throw this shirt in there."
So every time like someone like, there's so many people that fall into the river, it's like all those little henchmen, and they like just usually black and red cloth, and there's like chomp on the cloth,
And
it's
there's just like somebody
you can-
screaming.
You can throw a fake foot in there or something.
Or like the dolls, like in the which one is that? Where the tank, the last
Yeah,
crusade. There's like a
Last
little
Crusade.
doll that like flies
Yeah.
around.
There is like heavy CGI or green screen work on this for a lot of it, which is really bad. You can totally tell now. Not done very well, but well for that time, so I'll give them a break.
Yeah.
But I will say, actually, and this reminded me too, the scenes in this are kind of crazy. So like, I don't know what that budget was for like the scenes that they had to build for this. Either like the mine shaft, the Temple of Doom itself was like insane.
The
Sets, yeah. And I think the rest mostly probably were filmed on set, like in India or somewhere in Asia. But like that Temple of Doom set, like, whoa, and maybe it just looked like better on camera, but like, wow, that is, yeah. I mean, that is like where so much in the movie does take place.
Another
cool.
thing that I always remembered is that the scene where he's fighting that like the biggest guy, the biggest like goon thug guy. who has like a weird beard that's like different kind of. He's very macho. So they're like fighting on this conveyor belt, which is used to crush rocks or whatever. And it's like one of those like big spinning kind of, what are those called? Like cement rollers or whatever, like that, like steam rollers. It's like one of those things at the end that crushes the rocks. And they're fighting on it, so of course you're like, oh great, like this, we know how this is going to end. This is just like the plane propeller scene in Raiders.
It's the beats of the sequels that we've talked about.
So they're fighting, and then you think Indy's like losing it because little dick face Maharaja has a voodoo doll of Indy in his back pocket that he like takes out on occasion and sticks a pin in the heart. And you're like, come on, dude, like that kid. I mean, we'll talk about him next, but like he's the worst. He's almost as bad as Willie, but not quite. Anyway, so Indy can't fight back because of this fucking voodoo doll mayhem. But then the other guy is unfortunately or fortunately wearing a very long scarf thing, and he gets stuck in and then he gets pulled under. And the way that you see his body like going under the thing, it's like he like does this like this like scary shake.
Plane, though.
I know, but this is more gruesome, I feel like, because this is like you see his body. Like you don't see that guy getting like ripped up by the propeller. No. It's instant.
Right. No, it's like but it's like the Steven Spielberg trick where it's like, and just like show like a spray of blood.
So then that happens, and then you see the dark thing of blood going around the thing, and you're like, ooh.
Which is a brilliant way to do it if you want to show like violence, but not have like it be rated R, I guess. So like that's like kind of smart. Yeah. But yeah, like that's such a same beat. And I was going to say the like, crazy gross out animal scenes. I feel like that's always like a beat in these Indiana Jones movies too. So remember in like the first one where it's like all the tarantulas on his back in the beginning when he's trying to get that.
Oh, I remember.
And then this one there's like a snake thing.
Lots of
there's
bugs.
the big bug thing in the middle.
There's a serious bat problem in India. There's a lot of bats.
So there's like critter gross out scenes. I feel like that's like something that's always in here.
The dead animals, and then in Last Crusade the rat scene.
Yep. Oh, well, see, that's my like that
right
one.
So we all have one. We all get equal time of our gross out animal scenes here,
which is smart because everyone's like, oh, and like those are so memorable scenes, such memorable scenes for people. If like, and it really like runs the gamut of like what you're scared of, because at least like everyone is scared of at least one of those things. You know, whether it's rats or snakes or bugs or like whatever.
They'll get you.
They'll get you.
So my favorite part that I totally forgot about is when at the end when the Maharaja like takes his voodoo doll out again or whatever, and then Short Round sees that and then goes up to like go get him and like stop him from doing that. So he actually beats up. He beats him up after he successfully knocks the voodoo doll like out of his hand. It's like that crisis is over. But then Short Round's like, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you because I hate you, and I love it because I hate the Maharaja too. Like he's the worst. Like I said, he's so fucking annoying. And then so I just love it. Like Short Round's just like going to town. He's like, fuck you, fuck your monkey brains, fuck your shitty little falsetto voice. That's what I imagine he's saying in his head. But then he gets him with fire, and then he too breaks out of the spell, and then he's nice all of a sudden, and they're friends, and he's like, please listen, if you need to get out of here, please take the right side of the minecart path and you'll be home to safety.
And then Shorty was like, here's my email, let's be pen pals, bye.
Totally.
It was such a weird moment. And then, I love that line because Indy's like, hey, Shorty, quit fooling around with that kid.
Okay. Well, come on.
So there's the way they do this interesting thing in this one where like Shorty and Indiana have this like parallel scenes, and they're both getting whipped like when they're trying to make him drink the blood in the scene like right before he gets possessed. And Shorty's getting whipped too. And then in that scene where he's like fighting against one of those guys and Shorty's fighting the little Maharaja, they show like basically both of them in the same shot, like fighting. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. They're just trying to show how like two peas in a pod they were.
Totes. Do you have a specific favorite scene, or have we already talked about it?
Yeah. I mean, I liked all those ones I talked about.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah.
All right. Well, what is your favorite Indy look in this movie?
All right. Hands down. Well, there's really only yes, there's three. There's
a couple. I have two.
Okay. You
two
favorite ones?
Favorite ones.
Oh, okay.
I've decided
so
just now.
There's the traditional, the first scene, he's actually in a tuxedo, right? It's
very
James
Bond.
Bondy. And then he gets changed into his actual like Indy uniform, which is the leather jacket, the khaki pants, the hat, the whip, the gun, white shirt. Beautiful. And then my favorite one is for dinner when he goes up to Pancake Palace. He has what I call his like hot professor outfit, which is like a tweed blazer.
Why are you talking so quiet? Your voice gets so quiet when you talk about what you like.
It's just my thing. These adorable glasses. And his hair, a bow tie. His hair is like nicely combed to the side, even though his hair is always like kind of in place.
Presentable.
Yeah. Such a hot geek. He probably has those like elbow pads like on those professor jackets.
Totally. Yeah,
so
you love
hot.
It. You love
and
it.
then he's shirtless at one point, and that's pretty hot.
Well, my favorite
built. He's pretty skinny, Harrison Ford.
Well, my favorite look is the possessed Indy look. So yeah, no shirt, like sweaty because they're like in a volcano or whatever the fuck that is. Yeah, but like especially in that part because he's like possessed and there's a volcano like lava thing, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's hot in there.
It's hot. So I like that. And then I discovered that one of my other favorite Indy's look is after he's been through like a lot of tossles or whatever, his shirt gets the sleeves always like come off, and he has like a tank top Indy shirt on, and I love that. I think that's my favorite.
Last shirt.
Yeah. So
And
like
also
when
was,
they're
like,
when they're in the
pink
mine
on the back though from like his,
being whips.
Yes.
Yes. But I'm just calling attention to like how it's funny that like when he gets the tank top look, he's just like, yeah, it's hot. I like it. I like it a lot.
He's a good looking fella, that guy.
So he's like just continues to be really hot in this, obviously.
Yeah. And there's like well, I guess I'm comparing it to the third one now. So with Crusade. So in this one there's like this sort of like tension flirting scene between him and Willie where he's like pretty much goes in there and he's like, I'm gonna hook up with this bitch. Like she's gotta be good to me for something. So like goes in there and is basically like flirting with her, and then they like almost hook up, but then she like realizes what he's doing and she's like, I'm not that kind of girl. And like, you think you were just, even though she like totally wanted it, I was like, oh my God, stop playing this game.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb.
You're annoying. Just take it. Like he's hot and smart. Like you are dumb. Just take it. Anyway. So then they both said, well, like you're going to come back in 5 minutes. And like, no, you're going to come back in 5 minutes. But it's like not that great. And then in the Crusade, it's like the same thing because they get like, they kind of have like a, I forgot why they get in a fight about protection or something. She's like, I don't need protection.
Last Crusade?
Yeah.
I don't remember that too
Remember
much because
in
I feel
her
like
room
she
gets ransacked?
outed. She gets outed like pretty fast. Yeah, because she fucking ransacked it. I mean, I feel like that is, yeah, she's the one that was looking for the journal.
No. Do they hook? I think they hook up before that, maybe.
I don't know.
I forget.
We'll think about it. But yeah, nothing compares to the Marion scene on the ship where she's like, does it hurt? Like he's like she tries to help him and he's like, that hurts, and he's like, does it hurt here? And she like kisses all the spots. It's so good.
Well, that's the most like real one and seems the most genuine for sure because they actually had a relationship at one point, and I guess it was talked about that like Marion would come back for all of them, but they wanted him to have a different girl for each one. Which is a shame.
James Bond.
Because, I mean, Elsa obviously ends up being fucking evil. And the worst part about Crusade is that he, like, still tries to save her at the end. And you're like, no, she's a Nazi. I always hated that.
Yeah, that
part.
really pisses me off.
I'm like, no, you let her go into that
pisses me
crack
off.
in the hell or whatever.
But I love that when I do like in the, or I don't like, but Willie, when she's mad that she realizes Indy isn't coming because he got attacked by an assassin and is almost dying, she's like, Indiana Jones, you missed out on the greatest adventure of your life. And I'm like, what adventure is that? Her vagina? Like, cool. Like,
she thinks way too highly of herself.
Guess again, babe.
Which makes me think she probably has self-esteem issues.
Oh, yeah, totally. But yeah, so there's that scene. And then, yeah, I just want to talk again about when Short Round tries to knock Indy out of his, like, possession. He says these words that are just like as if it's like a double punch in the soul. So the first one, he goes, Indy, I love you, and we were like oh my God, you're so cute. And then right away after that he says, you're my best friend. God, come on, I can only take so much cuteness.
Oh
God, it was just like so fucking adorable. I can handle it. So cute.
So I like to bring up shoes. Notice this about Willie's shoes. Shiz. That's got some shiz. Poor Willie, even though I hate her, really gets the
short
end-
round of the stick.
the short round of the stick in terms of shoe wear. So he's fucking India, and she first only has like she does end up getting a pair of pants and a shirt, so doesn't have to wear this like beautiful beaded dress that she carries around with her like literally all the whole week. They're in this like
Get over the dress.
Yeah. Anyway, so she has these like really cool like 1930s like basically what they look like ballroom dancing shoes dress. Kind of look like the Dirty Dancing shoes that we like went on and on about. And so she's in that for a long time. And then her second pair of shoes is a pair of flip-flops. So you notice that she has flip-flops on when they're like climbing up like the rickety bridge ever. It's been cut. Like what the fuck?
And she had been wearing those when they were running out of the cave to get past the water. Like,
and they got all wet?
Have you ever run in flip-flops?
Oh my God.
Or what were sandals like in the 1930s
Right.
also? It was probably literally just a piece of wood.
Yeah, they weren't reefs.
They were not reefs. So just like super like, get that girl a pair of sneakers or something, please. Like, come on.
Did you ever
So
wear like wet
impractical.
reefs and then they would give you a blister?
The worst.
They'd like cut you
Yeah.
because like the wet skin.
Any flip flops that are wet. It's just a bad idea.
It's not good.
Don't do it.
A water shoe might have been good.
Grammy
And
would
then
make. We'd
30s
always wear water
shoes.
shoes at the
God,
bay.
Hate water
Which
shoes.
I know they're super ugly, but they are very helpful because there's a lot of hermit crabs and stuff in the bay.
Sometimes
So
I will say when I've gone swimming in like a little bit mushy sand or like a gross pond, totally worth it.
yeah,
They do look
sometimes
so
you have to sacrifice.
bad.
I think we just need to make them cuter, and I think we can do it.
Invisible water shoes.
New Sweety business plan.
This is where all my good ideas come, you guys. Don't steal them. Don't steal them.
She has a section in the back of her notebook that's just ideas.
Idea book.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Fill it up. Fill it up.
Pretty great.
More episodes we do. The more they come. Okay, a couple questions for you.
Okay, yes.
Or just one.
Shoot.
What exotic dish would you eat out of the exotic dish dinner time? You have to pick one. So it's either snakes, live eels, bugs, soup with eyeballs, or monkey brains.
But the snake's not cooked. It's just like a raw snake. I don't think they ate the snake in that. I think the actual
just a
meal was the
container?
eels.
Okay.
Maybe? I'm not sure. I think I would go with the chilled monkey brains based on the fact that I feel like if it's chilled, you can probably swallow it like super quickly and you won't taste much.
Wow.
Also brains. I mean, like people eat brains all the time. So I feel like,
I think it's more of a texture thing. I don't know if they
but
like
if they're
taste like
chilled,
anything.
if it's chilled, it'd just be like, oh, I'm just eating some sorbet here. No big deal.
Yeah, but it was like in blood.
You just don't look at it.
It wasn't
Just
like-
close your eyes.
I think the actual movie they used raspberry sauce,
All right.
but it's actually
What would
blood.
you eat then?
I told you the bugs.
Okay.
I would eat bugs in a second. Whenever I see there's some like movies set in Africa where they're like eating bugs, I'm like, that's not so bad. Have you had chocolate covered ants?
I just hate that the way they like take off the beetle's body and then there's like it's gross. Like it looks like
I would feel like they'd be like shellfish. That's what I'm thinking. Because there's like an outer shell with bugs, and it would be like a shell, and then you eat. It's like a steamer.
I'm just not partial to bugs. I just remember on that obviously it was like Survivor or not Survivor, but what was the
Fear
gross
Factor?
one? Fear Factor. But they would always need to eat bugs.
Yeah.
But then there was also this show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and they put like the celebrities in a Survivor / Fear Factor situation. And one of the things they had to do was like eat scorpions or something, and that they could like describe. They could like you could like taste the little like hair like on their body. And I think that's the part that grosses me out the most about eating bugs like that. Whereas like you can taste like that gross like stuff on the body. I would not be able to do it. Just no, thank you.
Well, remember the Fear Factor where the guys had to eat those like giant bull testicles?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just like such an unpleasant show. I'm like still upset that that was a thing that people watched.
I just couldn't do the ones where they would be like in a box and they would throw in like either bugs or snakes or like rats and stuff. Like forget it.
I can do it. I mean, like any of it. Like that was all
I'm
like,
gonna do, like, the Heights
shitty.
one.
Oh yeah, like
That's
big
fine.
deal about that. But yeah, it was a dark time. Dark time.
Who's
Reality
that guy
TV.
who was on that? The like actor?
Oh, what? In
Joe
I'm a Celebrity,
something?
Get Me Out of Here.
No, Fear Factor.
Oh, I don't know.
Joe, he was on like Suddenly Susan,
Joe Manganiello. No.
something like that. Anyways, dumb.
Super dumb. Is there another question you have for me, or was that it?
Does this make you want to go to India now?
No. Too many bats, man. Too many bats.
Yeah, it's funny. Like India, well, for the people I know who've traveled there, have either been like, this was like the coolest place I've ever been, nothing I've ever seen, and then some people are like, I would never want to go back here. It's the worst. So it's really like highs and lows for people.
Quick story about India. I was watching that movie Lion on Netflix, which is really fantastic.
Yeah.
I recommend it. However, I don't recommend watching it as I did, in which apparently if at some point you turn your subtitles off on Netflix, because sometimes they'll just like appear on like English shows and you're like, why are the subtitles on? So I'll turn them off. So I turned it off, but apparently they don't turn back on in a movie that you actually need them for. So I'm watching this movie and the whole half of Lion, the whole first half is all like in Hindi and like some other language. And I had no idea. I thought it was an artistic choice not to tell the audience what was happening on the screen.
God.
So I kept being like, wow, this is fascinating. Like, you really have to like pay attention to the story and try to figure it out. And then I figured that you would like find out all these missing clues to what happened in the beginning, like by the end, but that was not the case. So then I'm like Googling, does Lion have subtitles?
You would Google. I was just going to say that. I'm like, did you Google?
Because I'm reading the synopsis on IMDb and they like all of these things that I had I was still super confused about. I was like, how did they know that that's what happened? And so now I get it. So I'm like, God damn it, I'm such a dummy. Like,
Yeah,
ugh.
that is super.
That is weird though. Like, why wouldn't they just
My
turn it
old
on?
roommates all, like watched everything with subtitles, so I'd always have to like go in there and like fiddle with them. And that happened with, I was trying to watch this like Belgian show, and like I couldn't figure out how to like get the fucking subtitles on, and I was like, I was so frustrated.
It's
like,
interesting
it's
though.
hard.
Like, you need to like pick up on other things, and there wasn't a lot of talking in the first part of Lion, but that means that if there was talking, it was probably important, and I missed it. So there was like all these weird like pseudo like child molesting scenes, and I was like, what's happening here? I don't know. I can't tell if he's being creepy or what the deal is. So that would have been helpful. But anyways, I recommend the movie, highly recommend it, but do turn the subtitles on for the beginning part. Thank you. Okay. Whew, how's my story? Any other questions?
Boop, 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 boop. No, but you know, good movie. Glad we got another Indiana Jones down.
Yep.
What's up with like the one more Indiana Jones coming out? That's happening, isn't it?
I think so, and I think he's coming back in it, right? I'm sure he'll die in it, but I'm pretty sure. I thought the plan was that Shia LaBeouf or whatever would take over, and he would
God,
be
I
like
hope
the
not.
new Indiana Jones. But I think that Harrison Ford's still coming back for the next installment, whatever that is. I don't know what the time period is supposed to be in it.
He's gonna be like he's like the Sean Connery character now.
Right, and he was already pretty old in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and you could tell. And it just wasn't as enjoyable because he wasn't as like steamy and like attractive, you know. So I don't know. I think we shouldn't give it up.
Yeah,
Give up the ghost.
Give up the ghost. Right. I mean, it's these movies are still enjoyable to watch now.
Right.
They're
We
still
don't need-
popular.
We don't need more of them
we
because we can
don't-
just watch these ones over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Are you looking up the?
Yeah.
No.
New Indiana Jones?
But yeah, I mean, I didn't hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as much as everyone else did, but it did not have the same kind of magic that these
July
ones did.
19th, 2019, Dad's birthday.
Oh shit, that's really far away. Does it say anything about what it is about? No, I don't know if it would. It's like still
Yeah.
2 years away.
That mission failed. Yeah. Okay. So they were attempting to pass the baton to Shia LaBeouf, but that mission failed. They made it clear in recent months there's only one Indiana Jones for now. The 5th installment will likely expand the storyline to include younger actors. Ford reprised his signature
So
role of
Shia's
Han
not gonna be in it at all?
No.
Oh, good. All right.
Harrison really wants to do it. Steven really wants to do it. We've kicked around a couple story ideas. I mean, are they not even writing it with George Lucas now? Yeah. Oh, yeah. This will be the first Indiana Jones movie that does not include George Lucas's
Great.
participation.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Well, no.
Yeah. Like when
Okay. The deal with George Lucas is that his stories are great.
his
He should
original concept of
Yes,
stories.
his stories. He should not be involved in writing the script.
Right.
That's a different thing. And I felt like this one, the script was like kind of in this too. I don't know. I don't think he was involved in it.
No.
But like, yeah, like like obviously the tons of racist joke, like all the Winnie lines. I mean, Shorty had like a couple good like funny little lines that I like really liked.
Yeah, but overall, pretty meh. Pretty meh.
Yeah, but I know. I mean, I think a couple people. I think one of our followers is a real diehard Temple of Doomer.
Yes, Hannah from the Film Roast podcast. This is her favorite Indiana Jones movie, and I don't want to make any judgments because I do love her dearly. So I feel bad saying anything negative about this movie because I know she likes it so much.
They're all good, and as long as you can defend it.
But like, I mean, I can understand this one being more nostalgic. I mean, I don't know. I understand. I don't want to be mean anymore.
And for all of these, it depends on when you watched them in your life, where you were,
when you were little.
when you were little,
Exactly.
who gave them to you to watch. I mean, there's so much stuff. Like, obviously, this is what our entire podcast is about, right? Like, how do movies leave impressions on you? Like, was it when you watched them? Is it like who you watched them with? Were you at this like slumber party? Were you like sitting in front of the TV one day? You just stumbled upon it? Like, I don't know. And like, I hope, and I like mentioned this to Sweety the other day, that like I don't know if like movies, I can't tell you a movie like that was released from like 2010 on that I have seen more than once, because I don't have cable anymore, and I don't think a lot of people do either. And how do you get to watch movies and then become beloved and you love them is because they're on cable and they're just like, oh shit, I'm like bored on a Saturday, it's raining outside, like let me watch this movie. Or I'm like sick or I'm hungover or like whatever, and you just keep watching these movies. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to like physically search out every movie. So I'm wondering if that's gonna like make it that there's not like, I don't know if there's ever going to be a time again where we're going to have this like 80s, 90s.
Depressing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty depressing.
No girls are going to be making this podcast 20 years from now being like, oh my God, our favorite movie from 2017 was, and we've watched it like 100 times. We were 10. Isn't that weird? Yes. Like, what would it be this year? Would you be like, oh,
the Emoji Movie?
The Emoji Movie. Oh my God. Like our parents took us to that and it was sold out and we were so bummed. Like, no, we're not going to have these stories.
Yeah. Super sad. Super sad.
So that's why you should listen to this podcast, because it's not going to happen ever again.
It's a time capsule. Yeah.
Live it. Learn it. Learn it. Live it.
All right.
So I think, do you want to tell us like a little bit of what we're thinking for our big week next week? Or end of next week.
You seems to be. I mean, it's your idea.
Well, what is it though?
What movie?
No, like what's so special about next week?
Next week is our first anniversary. Oh, I didn't even know it was next week. I thought it was like a little later.
I guess it's a week from Sunday. So.
Oh, I thought it was in late August. Wow, I didn't even realize that. Okay, wow. So we've been around for almost a year, you guys. Holy balls.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
How many episodes do we have?
70.
Oh my God!
I mean, probably a few more than that, because some of our bonus episodes we didn't count as real episodes.
Shit.
But wow.
Yeah, so stay tuned. I guess maybe we'll roll it out next week when we're a little bit more sure about the deets. But stay tuned for some fun anniversary-themed possible contests and some giveaways for you awesome fans out there.
Woohoo!
We're just going to be partying like it's 1999.
Yeah. So keep a lookout on Twitter, where we'll be doing this, and Instagram. So on Twitter, we're at the Sweety Club, and on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Find us there, interact, say hello. We love you. If you can, leave us a review on iTunes if you're so inclined. That would be swell. And just as always, thank you for listening, and thanks for being there for us. We love you.
Thanks always. Bye.
Bye.